Welcome to Wisdom. I'm TJ McLaughlin, the Wiz in Wisdom. Uh, so, what, I don't want to really talk about this, but it needs to be talked about. Abortion, the abortion issue here in the divided states of America. I don't know, wait. This has been going on for how long? I don't know. Back and forth, you know what I think? I think the most obscene thing about this whole abortion issue is that the fetus is a political football. It's all it is to either side. It's just a political football. A political football that they use against one another. One party against the other party. So we had Roe versus Wade, that decision. And so I was kind of accepted, you know. And then this senator, John East, I think it was, from state of, it was North or South Carolina, I can't remember which. So anyway, Senator John East bought some time, prime time on TV, when he was on primetime television, and he came up with the idea that, maybe it wasn't his idea, it was just some idea that was out there that wasn't really promoted. So it was about the embryo being, when a new life began. I say life began. When did life begin? About 3 billion, 4 billion years ago. But when does a new life begin? That was the embryo. That's when the new life began, you know. And, you know, people love a cause, and that was it. That's the thing. That was the thing that gave the right some ammunition against the left. Was it a good decision, Roe versus Wade? You know. I don't think so, but anyway, what we hear about abortion, what we hear about the abortion issue comes from politicians. And politics can be very stupid. And it can make us stupid if we just accept what the politicians are telling us without thinking about it. Because take either side, the position of either side on this abortion issue, and they're both bogus. They're both bogus. Really. What does the left say? The left says, well, having an abortion is a woman having control over her body. Really? I mean, don't you think if a woman had control over her body, she wouldn't have unwanted pregnancies? And that's all I'm talking about here. That's unwanted pregnancies. I'm not talking about any other medical reason for abortion or anything. Just unwanted pregnancies. And so to have control over your body means you don't let things happen to your body that you don't want to happen. So that's having control. You know, not, you know, lying on an operating table, your legs spread and akimbo, and doctors inside there, you know, you're up there, you know, lying there, I'm in control now. I mean, it's like if I was driving my car and somehow I lost control and I went into a ditch, went off the road into a ditch. tow truck had to come get me out of the ditch, and then so I'm driving back with the tow truck driver, and sitting there, and my car's in tow. And I turn to him and I say, "Hey, I got my car under control now, don't I?" Yeah. You look at me right, buddy. So that's it. It's not having an abortion is not having control of your body. And I mean, there are women who do not have unwanted pregnancies. And I myself, I've never had an unwanted pregnancy. Never had an unwanted pregnancy. So, although men can get pregnant, right? So just women. There's only women that have unwanted pregnancies. What's up with that? I mean, come on. And on the right. So on the right says, bring God into the whole thing. It's God puts, whenever the egg cell is fertilized, God puts a soul there. This is a soul. This is when it becomes a human being, has a soul, because God puts the soul in there, the time of conception. So God is sitting on his throne, and he has a little bell that goes off every time a sperm penetrates the egg cell. Oh, trying to put a soul in there. I don't know. It's kind of crazy. But if you want to put God into the picture, you say God created us, right? You say God created us, so God created our reproductive system. And the way the reproductive system works, the human reproductive system, the way it works, is that every month, a woman of childbearing years, for every month there's an egg cell put in place to be fertilized. That's the purpose. That's God's purpose for having an egg cell there at the time. That's the purpose of that egg cell. The God-given purpose of that egg cell is to get fertilized. So, and that's why we have sex all the time. That's the other thing about our reproductive thing. We're having sex all the time. Highly sex. We're having sex all the time. All the time. We're sexy. Yeah. And the sexual drive doesn't really have anything to do with getting pregnant, because most of the time when we have sex, a woman can't get pregnant. But we have to have sex all the time to ensure that there's sperm hanging around in order to penetrate the egg cell. So there's always sperm around there because we have sex all the time. And that's the way God designed it for us. So, in order to really be true to God's design, every egg cell and every woman's body needs the opportunity to be fertilized. Every egg cell. That's God's design, that's God's purpose, to put the egg cell there every month to be fertilized. And if you go against that, you're going against God's design. So you really can't do that. We used to do that in primitive existence, and the tribes, and way back when, prehistory, because the mortality rate was very high, and we didn't have to worry about that. Didn't have to worry about having too many kids. So now, of course, the mortality rate is very low. And we have to, so we can't we can't have every egg cell in every woman's body and given the opportunity to be fertilized. Can't do that, right? We can't do that. It's crazy. Except if you're Rick Santorum. He would go along with that. He would say, yeah, everyone. So you can't do that. Just can't do that. So we don't leave it up to God. We don't leave it up to God. We don't leave that, because the other thing is, a majority of embryos after being fertilized, egg cell after being fertilized, the embryos, a high proportion of them are spontaneously aborted. So if God put a very high value on those embryos, I don't think that would happen. So what are we left with? We can't really honor God's design, and we have to have. It's not about having abortions, not having control of your body. So the thing is, when does life begin in this situation, in this kind of scenario? For us, a new life begins, when we choose to be pregnant. It's our choice. When we choose to be pregnant, that's when a life begins. A new life begins. Otherwise, there's no new life. I have to have that choice, because that's the thing. We choose when to have a child and when not, or not to have a child. We choose to have a child or not to have a child. It's our choice. It's about choice. We choose. It's that choice to have a child. That's when a new life begins. Without that, no. So a woman can choose to be pregnant or not to be pregnant, right? Nobody's arguing that. Nobody's saying no. She has to have her egg cell fertilized. So, a woman can choose to be pregnant or not to be pregnant. And she can choose not to be pregnant even when she is pregnant. Because if it's, inadvertently she gets pregnant, she doesn't want to be pregnant, she didn't want to get pregnant, she can still choose not to be pregnant, because that's the choice. To be pregnant or not to be pregnant. And the choice to have a child is when a new life begins. Because that's up to us. We don't leave it up to God / nature. It's up to us. We're in charge. We're in charge of our reproductive system. Of course, I don't think it should be an open-ended abortion. I think 20 weeks is good, because that's when a fetus develops its own nervous system, and that pretty much distinguishes it from the mother. It's no longer really part of the mother. It's like this is an actual being with its own nervous system. I think that's I think that should be the cutting point. But on the other hand, I really don't think it should have any out of the government. I don't think it should be legislated. I don't think I think it should just be between a woman, her family, her husband, her lover, whatever, and the doctor. Because the other thing is, you can't really make a good law. If you made a law against abortion, just made abortion illegal, first of all, it wouldn't put an end to abortion, put a lot of women at risk, and it wouldn't really apply to every woman equally. And laws are supposed to do that. And, well, other women, okay, if abortion was illegal, women who could afford it could go somewhere else, get an abortion. Women who couldn't afford to do that would have to suffer the consequences. So that's not really a just, it's not really a just law. So to just, and I don't think there's any law that if a woman has an abortion, that she suffers the consequences of having that abortion. I mean, just a doctor is arrested or found to be guilty of whatever it is, murder. And if the right, if the conservatives really believed that an abortion was murder and just let the woman get away with it, you're letting people get away with murder? And to say that, well, we're going to make it 15 weeks. You have the abortion, but not after 15 weeks. So they're saying, well, yeah, you can commit murder for 15 weeks, but then, no more. So it just there's no good way to legislate it, I don't think. So, yeah, I think you should just forget about laws concerning abortion, concerning our reproductive systems. So, I think that pretty well covers it. So, thank you for tuning in. Hope to see you next time.